Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Anna, aka Brookwillow, and today I have another classic knitting, spinning, sewing podcast video for you. I'm so happy you're watching this today. I have quite a few things to show you. I haven't been able to film in about 3 weeks because I've been on some vacations and other busy life things that I'll talk about towards the end. But that means that I've had more time to work on things as well. So let's just start out with what I'm wearing today. I'm actually wearing two knit pieces, which is kind of wild because it's been really hot out, but I'll start with the top here. This is the June top from Petite Knit. I made this, I think I finished it this spring. And so if you're a regular viewer, you've seen this. It is used with Pearl Soho's Cashmere Merino Bloom in the colorway Hydrangea Blossom. So this does have a blend of cashmere in it, which is in the name of the yarn. So I can't really wear this on really hot days, but today it's kind of cooler this morning, so I can get away with it for a little bit. But I do really love it. It's as soft as can be. And yeah, I like this pattern too. I've made this tank top twice, and it's just like a really easy palette cleanser type of garment when you just want to shut your brain off and knit stockinette in the round. This is a good tank top for that. And I like it too because it hides bra straps pretty easy. And so yeah, I can wear a nice bra with it. And then this neck piece right here is the Sundress scarf by Gudrun Johnston from her Shetland Trader book, I think volume 3. And I actually made this over a year ago with the intention to wear it more as a headscarf, but I have found it's really challenging for me to wear anything like that on my head for two reasons. A, I don't like the feeling of things sliding back, and I remember I've had that issue ever since I was a kid, so I don't know, maybe it's the shape of my head or something that things just slide off easier. Like I don't have much of a crown under here for anything to kind of hold on to, so it drives me crazy when things slide off my head. And then I also don't know if my hair really works with it. I have like extremely fine, somewhat flat hair, and so it just completely gets hidden in the scarf. I think if I had like beautiful curly hair like Emily from High Fiber Knits or Carson from Carsley Handmade, it would work better. Like whenever they put a hair scarf on, it looks absolutely beautiful. I love their hair. I just don't have that. So it doesn't work for me. Not to say it doesn't work for anybody else with fine hair, but personal preference. So I've been trying to wear my scarves and whatnot more as a neck piece, and since this one is a silk blend, it feels nice to have on a warm day, so I'm not getting overheated with a wool scarf or anything like that. So yeah, decided to try it out again today. Anyways, I have 3 finished objects to show you today. 2 of them are knitting and 1 of them is sewing. I'm gonna hold off on the sewing one until more of a sewing section towards the end, but let's start with the knitting. My first finished object for you is a beach bag or tote bag, whatever I want to use it for, I guess. And this is the LANTA bag by Paula Strickt. It's a bottom-up construction, so you cast on using, I forget what cast on she used for it, but I used the Turkish cast on, and then you do this open lacework mesh type stitch all the way up. And then you make these decreases into the straps here, and it just flows really nicely into the straps. I talked about this maybe before, that I didn't like the look of tote bags that just had a strap jutting right out of it, because I felt like the sides got all floppy. So yeah, I just like the way that this one flows into it. But it kind of looks like a halter top. I've had a few people comment on that, and I thought so myself. I even tried it on over my head, and it kind of fits, but obviously I couldn't really wear it like that. I did make a modification at the bottom here. So the pattern, you just go immediately into the mesh pattern, but I wanted just kind of a plain stockinette stitch bottom in case I have some smaller items in here. I don't want them to slip through these holes at all. So that's the one modification I made with it. This kind of achieved exactly what I wanted it to. I needed a little bit of a palette cleanser because I was working on some other garments that was just kind of becoming a slog. And so I just wanted a quick project to kind of whip through. And I didn't want it to be a winter garment like a hat or socks or anything. I still wanted it to be seasonal. So I thought that this was perfect for it. And I made it pretty quick, I would say in about a week. And it was nice because then I was kind of refreshed to go back to the previous projects that I was working on. But yeah, so the yarn I used is Silk City Fibers. I think I was calling it Lion Brand this whole time because I bought it from lionbrand.com. And I don't know if they like purchase Silk City Fibers or what, but yeah, so technically it's Silk City Fibers. It's just 100% linen cone in the colorway Penny, and I have quite a bit left of this. I was actually going to use this to make a different crocheted bag, but I lost my crochet mojo currently. However, I'll still have enough yarn to make that bag whenever it comes back to me. But yeah, so the other reason I made this bag is because I wanted something to carry out onto the boat when I go boating with my friends, because I only really need to carry a couple things like sunscreen, a couple snacks or whatever, and this is the perfect thing for it. And it's just in time because I think I'm going out on the boat this afternoon, so I'm going to take this with me. So I'll have a 3-knit moment out on the boat. My next finished object is one I'm a little sad about. If you follow me on Instagram, you may have seen the post already, but it just didn't work out how I imagined it would in my head. But that is the Yoko top by Knitting for Olive. Here it is. I'll talk a little bit about the construction first. So it's knit sideways in 2 pieces, and then you seam it down the back using a Kitchener stitch. And I used the recommended yarn, which is Knitting for Olive's Pure Silk in the colorway Cardamom. And yeah, you make these little straps, they tie, there's a hole that one of them goes through, just like every other wrap style garment. But I have a couple issues with it, and one of them is the pattern, and one of them I think is just me. So I'll start with just my own personal issue. It just doesn't fit me how I want it to. And there's a couple reasons why. First of all, you could probably tell right away that the V-neck is just so deep and it just keeps opening up wide. So like when I first tried it on, my entire bra was exposed and it just kind of like went down the sides like that. And there is absolutely no way I'm gonna walk around all day making sure that my bra isn't completely exposed. I also want to mention, because I'm sure there's going to be a few of you who comment about this, but I shortened the straps already by like 4 inches. I knew that it was going to be way too long for the straps, just from past experience with knit camisoles too. So I shortened these so much to the point where the tops of these pieces, here I'll show you, they do come all the way up to the tops of my shoulders, but it still opens all the way up. So even shortening the straps didn't really do what I needed it to do. So I tried. I do know that I can make kind of a modification and seam it together up here, and that's probably what I will for sure end up doing. I don't really want to frog this project. I still want to make it work. So I am going to seam the pieces together to be at a point where I'm comfortable with the coverage of it. It's just kind of sad because it kind of defeats the purpose of the whole wrap style. It's going to be more like a tank top that I pull over my head, but whatever. As long as it looks how I want it to look, that's fine. So I'm going to do that. But the other thing that I didn't really consider when I picked this project out is there's one layer of fabric in the back, which is fine, but the layers of fabric in the front are just really thick, and the way that they fall on my stomach, I feel like they don't really do anything for my personal figure. It just adds bulk in areas that I don't really want bulkiness in. And I don't normally make or wear negative ease tops. I guess this is kind of like a neutral ease. It's not really tight and it's not oversized. But this particular one, it just, I don't know, it doesn't fit how I want it to. The whole point of the wrap top is to not tuck it into pants. So you have to wear it over pants to get that whole effect. And I don't know, I think just where it cuts off at my pants, none of it is working for me if it's not obvious. So I'm pretty bummed because I worked on this for a very long time. I used size US 2 needles to knit this, and it was like knitting 2 tank tops because these panels are so big, and since it wraps over itself, it's a lot of knitting. So for it to kind of turn out blah makes me sad. Again, I think it's more of a me problem, or maybe it's just the size that I made. I believe I made a size 5, which is equivalent to like an XL. So maybe the way that it was graded, it was just evenly graded, which made this part get really big. And I don't know. I did have someone else reach out and say that they made it and they didn't really have any issues with it, so I'm happy for them. I'm curious maybe what size it was and if there's a difference with the sizing of how it turns out, but who knows. But one other thing that I was kind of annoyed about, and maybe I read this incorrectly in the pattern, but when they had you Kitchener stitch the pieces together, they said put right sides together and then Kitchener stitch. So I did that, but that caused the seam to be exposed on the outside, and I didn't really realize that was happening until I was halfway done, and I was like, this just took so long. I'm not gonna try to rip back, because ripping back Kitchener stitch I imagine is pretty hard. So I just kept going, and it has this exposed seam down the back, which makes it feel like it looks inside out from the back, but whatever, it's the back. At that point, I kind of just wanted it to be done. So yeah, not my best work here, but that happens. I will get back to you all on when I make the modification of seaming it in the front to see if that changes things. And if it's still not good, I might either gift it to a friend who might like the way it fits on them better, or maybe I'll frog it and make something new with it. I also ended up with a whole extra ball and a half of the pure silk. So if you do make this top, even after all of my complaints about it, be aware that you might not even need that extra ball of yarn. So thought I'd mention that. Let's move on to something that is bringing me joy, and that is my new cast on since we last chatted. So this is where I am at so far with this piece. And this is going to be the Florence tank by Sari Nordlund. Here it is. It's just a classic all over lace knit tank top, and it'll have buttons down the front. I was looking at online clothing stores. I think it was Cezanne that I was looking at, and they had a tank top. Maybe it was just on Pinterest. There was a navy blue tank top that was all over lace, and it had buttons down the front, and I absolutely loved the way it looked, and I wanted to create it myself, so I found a similar pattern from Sari Nordlund to hopefully create that effect. I've been wanting to knit a Sari Nordlund garment for quite a while. I love all of the patterns she comes out with, and I've been in a lacy mood lately, so she was the first person I thought of to make a garment from. And she was one of the only designers out there who had made a tank top with buttons down the front that was also lace, so kind of ticked all the boxes. And I'm really enjoying this so far. It's a pretty easy repeat. It's a 10-row repeat, so I don't actually have it all memorized, but it's easy to memorize what each row will be. You just have to check the pattern after each row. Not a big deal. Since it is worked flat bottom up, you do knit across one and then purl mostly across the back side, which really isn't an issue for me. I think ever since I learned Norwegian purling, I don't hate purling. If you're a continental knitter and you haven't learned Norwegian purling yet, I would recommend looking into it because A, I think it made me a faster knitter, and B, it just makes purling or ribbing or anything like that so much easier. I will say it's kind of hard to see the full pattern of this right now. I know once I block it, it will kind of fall into place a bit better, but I kind of like how busy it is because I'm sure I've made mistakes in here, but you can't really tell, which is nice. On the opposite side of that, I think that's why I made the mistakes, because I couldn't really tell where I was in a pattern sometimes when I went to go pick it up after a while, and that's why I think I made those mistakes. But overall, you can't really see it, probably because it's also a dark yarn too, so it'll all be fine, but I'm really excited for this garment. And I think for the buttons, I kind of want buttons that are made out of the same yarn to kind of have like baubles. I want to make like bauble buttons or crochet them. I don't know. I just have this vision of the buttons also being the yarn instead of like wood or any kind of contrasting button. So I'm going to look into that. The buttonholes are pretty small, so I'm not worried about them kind of opening up, and if they do, I'll just seam the button placket together because really I'm not using it to open the buttons or anything like that. But yeah, the yarn I am using is the recommended yarn, and that is again Knitting for Olive pure silk. I feel like that's my whole, it's like the summer of silk because I made the Yoko top in it, I'm making this top in it, and then the next garment I'm going to make is also out of silk. I'm not going to show you that today because I haven't started it yet, but yeah, a lot of silk this summer. which has been fun. I have never knit with it before, so I'm really going to be able to form an opinion on it. Speaking of opinions of the yarn, it is pretty nice. We all kind of know that plant fibers can be a little disruptive to our skin on our fingers, and as I say that, I'm looking at a callus where the yarn goes across. So that can get a little old after a while, but I take breaks and I'll move on to something that is wool or whatever. But I do like the feel of it. I think it feels like a really nice summer fabric. There isn't really any halo to it or anything, so it's not going to be clinging onto my skin, making me hot. But yeah. The colorway of this is deep petroleum blue, which I think is a perfect depiction of this color here. And it's bringing me a lot of joy. I think I am ready for fall. I'm kind of... It's still July, but once August hits, I'm just kind of over summer. Probably because August is usually the hottest month of the year, and I don't do well in the heat. So yeah, I usually start getting excited for fall. But I don't necessarily want to start making fall garments quite yet because I won't be able to wear them for months. It'd be nice to have garments that I can still wear. So that's why I've been kind of choosing traditional fall colors. So like these deep blues. I think this is a very fallish color on the blue spectrum of things. So it's kind of like itching that scratch, but I am getting a garment that I can still wear. And that's the other thing. I usually get ready to wear fall garments, but it's just too dang hot. So if I can wear fall-ish garments and not get too hot, that'll be really nice. So last weekend I went camping with one of my best friends, and obviously I brought knitting. We drove to South Dakota, so that's like a 9-hour drive. So as you can imagine, there was a lot of knitting time, and since we were camping, it kind of has a lot of knitting time involved in that. And I ended up working on these socks quite a bit. Maybe you remember them, maybe you don't, but I started these quite a few months ago, right when the Laine 52 Weeks of Socks Volume 2 came out. And yeah, this is the first pair that I've been working on. I kind of fell off the boat for a little bit because I got really into making summer garments and everything. So these kind of went to the wayside, but they were a perfect small project for a little camping trip. These are the Berries and Bird Track socks by Yucca Takahashi. And like I mentioned, it's in the Laine 52 Weeks of Socks Volume 2. It is a toe-up lace, cable style sock, and I just love the way that it looks. I got to the point where I'm working on the heels, so I'm doing all of the increases and then, decreases, and yeah, I guess I'm about halfway done with these. It's really fun to kind of start working on socks again. I didn't really have much of a sock mojo this summer, but this kind of brought it back, picking this project back up. And as you notice here, I am knitting these 2 at a time. I don't think I can ever go back to knitting socks 1 at a time. I am a victim of the second sock syndrome, where you knit one sock and then you just can't quite work up the courage to knit the second one. And this completely resolves that problem. There's no second sock syndrome when you knit 2 at a time, and it doesn't feel twice as slow to knit 2 at a time. It probably feels like, obviously it's like a little more slower than knitting 1 at a time, but not by much. I think it's because you memorize what you need to knit across the front and you just do it on both really quick. And then the back, same thing, on both really quick. I just don't like the idea of knitting a whole sock, having to do the heel and then finish it, and then have to do all of that all over again. It doesn't feel very efficient. I like being able to do the heels at the same time and the toes at the same time. It just feels faster, and I really like it. So that's why I'm doing that. And once you kind of get the hang of knitting 2 at a time, it's really not that difficult. It's kind of hard to wrap your head around it at first, but it gets easier from there. The yarn that I'm using is Life in the Long Grass, and I misplaced the label, but I do know that it's a yak base, and I do not know the colorway of it. I am so sorry. But yeah, I'm enjoying this yarn. It's a tonal, grassy, mossy green yarn, and I think it's a classic color. I'm really excited for these socks. I'm definitely gonna wear them with my Birkenstocks for special occasions because they're very dainty. I don't necessarily even want to use these in boots or anything because I'm hiding all of the fun stuff with that, but I also think they'll be just nice socks to wear around the house, or like during holidays when you go over to other people's houses and you take your shoes off. It'll be nice to still have some fancy socks to wear. So I'm excited for these. I think next up will be the spinning portion because I haven't gotten a ton of spinning done, which is crazy because it was Tour de Fleece. And that's the time of year to get a lot of spinning done. But I think it's because I was working on the drop spindle. So I showed you the drop spindle that I bought in my last episode and the fiber that I was working with that. I did pick up my old drop spindle and worked a little bit over these last couple weeks with it, but not a ton. I did want to show you, so as you know, my dog chewed up my passport for the Save Him to Shave Him program, and they did send me the new passport, so I just wanted to show you what it's supposed to look like. So here is what the passport is supposed to look like when it's not chewed up by your dog. It's really cute though, and it has table of contents, and they categorize all of the different breeds by critical, threatened, watched, and recovering. So I'm starting with the critical breeds and working my way back because they seem like they're the most in need. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, watch my last video. I go a bit more deep into what this program is, but I thought it would be kind of fun to add my sticker to my passport with you all. So this is the Gulf Coast native sticker that I got to put in my passport because I bought the fiber and I started spinning with it, but I haven't completed it yet. But yeah, I'm gonna add this to the book. And I'll go through and fill in all of the extra information, like date purchased, project, and date completed on here. So kind of fun. I'm excited to fill up the whole book. They have little prizes or whatever when you do so, and I don't know, it's cute. I do have some fiber that the lovely Madison sent from Madison Monte's podcast. She posted a photo of her spinning up some fiber that she got, and she got some fiber from Onero Care, so the people that make Nutidin, and I hadn't stopped thinking about that fiber. And I'm not a Patreon of them, so I don't really have access to like the first dibs of buying anything, so I was kind of bummed about that. But when I told Madison that I couldn't stop thinking about the fiber she got because it's so freaking beautiful. She's like, let me send you some because I have so much extra of it. And I was like, oh my God, I have to pay you for that. And she said no. And she shipped it to me and it's here and it's beautiful. It's this huge bat of fiber. And I absolutely love it. This colorway is so pretty. It's just this extremely subtle pink. It's definitely a type of pink that I like to wear. Kind of matches my walls in here, if you can see. But yeah, I am so excited to spin this up. I have no idea what I'll make with it once I do spin it. Obviously, I want to see how much yardage I get from it first, but I do plan on just making like a 2-ply fingering weight or DK weight because that's like a very universal yarn. I thought it would be kind of fun to make a fall hat with this because I think it'll look nice with my hair color here, but again, I'll know for sure what I do once I spin it up and know how much I have. But I'm so excited to spin this. I'm gonna get started on it soon. I just have one braid that I'm working on right now, and then I'll probably jump right into this afterwards. So yeah, that's the only spinning content I have. I do have some sewing to show you because my sojo is still going very strong, and I'll start with the finished object that I have. So this right here, I just finished it yesterday, and it is the Sundress from Birgitta Helmersson's book Zero Waste Patterns, which I have right here. Love this book. Got it this summer or spring, I should say, and I am just slowly making my way through it. This is the second garment I made, and I'll insert some footage because obviously this is kind of hard to show like this. And I am in love with this dress. I think this is one of my favorite dresses I have ever made. And it's using 2 different blocks from the book. She has like a tank top block and then a skirt block, and it kind of marries those 2 together. But yeah, when I got this fabric in, which was from the fabricmarket.com, they have discounted fabrics, really great if you're trying to buy fabric on the cheap or on a budget, I should say. Yeah, and I don't remember exactly what the composition of this fabric is, but I'm pretty sure it's a silk blend. And I remember that I did buy one piece of fabric with a little silk in it, and it has to be this one. But I just fell in love with the color. This is kind of what I was saying before. It's like a fall color that I can wear in the summer to kind of, get myself ready for fall. And I think this will still be nice to wear in actual fall too. I can layer some sweaters over it and then just have like the skirt peeking out through the bottom, or even layer something underneath it like a turtleneck or something. But yeah, I love the way it drapes. I love this subtle pinstripe pattern on it. I think it just adds something more to it. And I love how it fits too. I think the way that the straps were made, it's like kind of a higher neck here, and it comes down nicely under the arms, and then it's also a high neck in the back as well. And then the length of the skirt, since it's a zero waste pattern, there's no scrap waste to it, which is really cool. You can just use up all of your fabric and not be left with anything left over. But the length of the skirt is determined by how wide your fabric is. And I really like the length of this one. I think it cuts just below the knee, which makes me feel really comfortable. And I think it's a nice length to pair with like boots and socks in the colder months too. It won't be too short or anything like that. But yeah, I really like the bust darts on this. I think it just helps shape the chest area very nicely. And then we've got the classic ruffle for the skirt, which just makes it extra flowy. And I wore this last night to dinner with my friends, and it was super hot out, and I walked to the restaurant, and it was lovely because like nothing touched my body when I was wearing this dress. It's just so flowy that it just makes it really nice for hot days. But yeah, I'm definitely going to be making more of these sundresses. They're just kind of a perfect staple piece. They're nothing too crazy about it, and that's what I really like. So I think that increases its wearability too. I did buy some more fabric last weekend when Laine and I went to South Dakota. We went to a thrift shop in Rapid City, and I scored on some fabric. I am so freaking excited about this fabric. Okay, let's start with this first one. Yeah, I'll just go ahead and show you it. So here it is. Beautiful plaid style fabric in like all of my favorite colors. We've got this like terracotta color is the main one, and then there's red, white, blue, and forest green running throughout. This is like, it wasn't labeled what the fabric was, but it kind of feels like linen, but not quite. It looks and feels more like a canvas material, but super lightweight, not like a thick canvas at all. And it's definitely not cotton either, or like knit. I don't know. But yeah, I have 2 yards of this. I think I know what I want to make with it already. So I'm still just really excited about this book, and I'm trying to make all of the garments that I really want out of this. Obviously, why wouldn't I? But I envision this in a blouse for fall, possibly. I could change my mind, but the blouse that I want to make with it is the vintage shirt in the book, and I'll show you a picture of it. But yeah, I was looking at, it was either Shop Doen or maybe Rudy Jude, or a blend of the two. I like the blouses they have that are a little bit oversized, and then the arms kind of cinch at the bottom here. I thought that would make a really nice blouse for it. Or I could also make the Vivian Xiao Chen blouse that I made without the ruffle around the neck. Gosh, what's the name of that pattern? The Nephilim blouse. I think either of these would be super cute for it. I just like the idea of having like the cinched arm and then big blouse and then like some high-waisted jeans or something. I think it'd be a really cute fall piece. So that's my plan for now with it, but like I said, it could change. I originally was going to maybe make the sundress that I just showed you with this fabric, but it's not quite as drapey as the fabric that I used. It still would be okay, but I think this wants to be something a little more structured, like a blouse. So that's what I'm gonna get for that. And then I came upon this fabric here. It is 8 yards of flannel, which, can you imagine the possibilities of all the things I can make with this? First, I just want to talk about the colors. It's just a beautiful neutral plaid color with the off-white and these kind of peachy tan accent colors throughout with it. And it's such a nice, soft flannel too. I have no idea what I'm going to make with this yet, but I know I can make a lot of things. I thought it would be kind of fun to do like a classic flannel possibly with it, or a fall coat, or My one friend told me I should make a floor-length nightgown with it. I don't know if I'm going to do that. That might get too hot, but I'm excited. I don't know. What do you think I should make with 8 yards of flannel? That's crazy. But the coolest part about this, well, I think the coolest part is obviously the beautiful fabric I got, but these two together was only $15, which is mind-blowing. $15 for 10 yards of awesome fabric. It was, well, originally this was $24, and then this was $15, I think. And they had everything in the thrift store that day half off. So yeah, I couldn't believe it. This is just an amazing find, and I'm so excited. And it's hard to really come across nice unused fabric at the thrift store, like very rare. I don't know if it's just in my area, a lot of that it gets picked over, or a lot of it isn't really being donated, but they had a lot of fabric at that particular thrift stop. So when I come across unused fabric at thrift store, I have to snatch it up when I can. Yeah, so it was a really fun trip that we took last weekend. You have met Elena on this channel back in January, which I do want to bring her and Magdalene back on again because that was super fun. But we were celebrating our 10-year friendship anniversary. We met approximately 10 years ago, or became friends about 10 years ago, because we both worked at H&M together and have been best friends ever since. So we thought it'd be funny and cute if we took an anniversary trip together. So we went to the Black Hills in South Dakota. We stayed in Keystone at a campsite, and it was absolutely beautiful. I've been to Mount Rushmore before. We didn't go into Mount Rushmore, but we saw all of the presidents on the side of the hill on our way to the campsite, which was like half a mile away from there. And we did a really big hike one day, and then on Saturday we decided to get a hotel. We did 2 nights of camping and then ended it with a hotel before we had to drive all the way back home. And we ended up seeing the Barbie movie, which is kind of perfect because that day was super hot, so we didn't really want to do anything outside. So yeah, went to see Barbie, which obviously was incredible. If you haven't seen it yet, get out from under your rock and go, because it's worth it. And yeah, and then we drove all the way back on Sunday, which was such a slog, but still worth making the drive out there. And then on Monday I took off from work because I just needed a day to recover from everything, and I ended up going to see Oppenheimer to complete the Barbenheimer weekend, which also was a great movie. I've been in love with Cillian Murphy for a very long time, so that alone was a treat for the eyes. But yeah, I do have a very busy August coming up. I think like every weekend is booked up, so I might be able to get one video out during the month of August. We have to see. My other best friend from Colorado is going to come out and visit. She hasn't seen my new house yet, so I'm really looking forward to that. And I have a backpacking trip, a one-night camping trip, and some other plans as well. So going to be very busy to wrap the summer up. But it's been fun to sit down and catch up with you all. I hope you're all having a good summer as well, trying to stay cool out of this extreme heat, which is scary. But yeah, I hope you're finding a lot of nice crafting time as well. If you made it this far, thank you so much. If you're new here, welcome. You should consider subscribing so you don't miss out on any future content. And if you like what you see here, please hit the thumbs up. That really helps my channel out. And yeah, I hope you enjoy the rest of your week, and we will chat whenever next time is.